Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So today we're going to do one of these kind of one-off shows that I like to do, and this one's called What's the Difference? And I've chosen two albums that I've thought about quite a bit over the years. But really, what is the difference between these two albums? They're very similar in a lot of ways, but obviously they have main differences because one of them is extremely popular, considered one of the best, if not the best, progressive rock album ever. And the other one has its following, but tends to not be nearly as popular. And we're talking about Relayer. So other than the obvious color difference between the two albums, this one being a gray with a lot of really good art. This is one of the best artworks any album, especially in the Yes catalog. And this one, maybe not so much. So this album, whenever I look at this album's cover, I always get this kind of feeling of it being somewhat kind of mystical. I mean, if you take it apart, it does have this part in the middle, which is really nice. I really like this a lot. I'd love to have a poster of this. I'm sure there's posters of this out there somewhere, just to put up on the wall here. Such a good artist. I love that. It's so good. The other album has more. The album is more. Let's see, take it out of here so we can get a look at it. Like the album cover is the big thing here. This is really good. It's a gray. It's more of it's not as mystical, but there seems to be a lot of interplay here, where there isn't so much of that on the Close to the Edge album. So one of the differences is we have different drummers. Two different drummers here. You got Alan White on Relayer. You got Bill Bruford on Close to the Edge. It's also two different keyboardists. You have Rick Wakeman here on Close to the Edge. You have Patrick Moraz here on Relayer. Now, some people would say that the better musicianship is on Close to the Edge, but is it? Yes, you got Rick Wakeman and you got Bill Bruford, who I think are better than the other two on the Relayer album. But this album has some tremendous instrumentation on it. Some fantastic stuff on here. Some of the best that Yes has done. While this album is 100% progressive in every stretch of the imagination, you cannot find anything more progressive than this album. This one almost borders on that jazz fusion element that was popular in the 70s as well, but a lot of progressiveness to this album as well. So the other thing that's very similar between these two albums, they both have 3 tracks. Both have side-long epic tracks and then 2 songs on the other side. You get the And You and I didn't bring my glasses out, so I'm going to have to wing it here. And You and I, which is more pastoral, more I don't know, it's more soothing. It's more of a soothing song. Lots of really good acoustic parts to this song. A lot of the lyrics are good. John Anderson's voice is very clear. And then you have something somewhat similar with To Be Over. Same type of thing. Very pastoral, very more soothing, more of a vocal song. So those two are very similar. Then you have Siberian Khatru and Sound Chaser, which are more of the heavier instrumental songs on the album. So you got that's very similar between the two. And then you have Close to the Edge, which is a epic side-long masterpiece, and Gates of Delirium, which is very similar in a lot of ways to him. So you have a lot of very similarities to him. So what is And there's only about 2 years separating these. This came out in 72, and then this came out in 74, I believe, or 75. Is it 75? I think it's 75. Here we are. Let's get them glasses going. I think this is actually 74, but could be 75. No, it's 74. Yeah. Eddie Offord doing the production here. Eddie Offord doing the production here. Roger Dean. So a lot of great similarities between these two albums in every aspect. Some of Steve Howe's best guitar work is on both of these two albums. Rick Wakeman, who's a fantastic keyboard, has an amazing solo on Closer to the Edge. And then you got Patrick Moraz with that great solo on Gates of Delirium. Chris Squire's all over the album too. You got two distinct drum styles. You got more of a jazz fusion type drum style with Bill Bruford. You got that more rock style, heavy style that you get from Alan White on this one. But very, very similar in every respect. So what is the difference here? Well, I think the difference is that this album's timing was much better than this album. This album came out kind of getting towards the end of the progressive era, and this one not so much. This one has a lot more of an emotional feel to it. It brings out this emotional, almost a peace feeling on this album. The emotions that John Anderson's voice and the overall construction of this song brings out is much, to my opinion, much greater than Relayer. Relayer took me literally decades to get into. I'd listen to it once in a while, but it just never absorbed. I found this a very stark album. Now I know that some people will disagree because To Be Over is not really that stark, but I just found this more, because it's more of a jazz fusion-y feeling to it, a little bit more stark, and this one has a lot more emotion to it. I think this album also was, the creative juices were at the absolute epitome, the top of the chart when they made this. This one was kind of an attempt to repeat this, I think, in some ways, but with a more jazz fusion-y sound to it. I think Steve Howe's use of electric guitars on this album is much more pronounced than on this album. This album, he's a little bit more acoustically giving it that more of a soft feel. This one's more of a sharp contrast to that. You also get the drumming styles, of course, are really different. This one has a lot of fills and time signatures and great pieces of percussion. This one is more of a straight kind of rhythmatic kind of drum part played by Alan White. So there's that difference. You got two different keyboardists. This one more smooth, more solo oriented. This one a lot more jazz fusion-y, I think, in the keyboard elements here. And of course the bass is dominant on both albums. Maybe not much difference there. John Anderson, of course, I think is at his best with both of these albums. I see no real, to be honest, from the first time I heard John Anderson until the last time I've heard John Anderson, I see no change in his voice. It's exactly the same as it was 55 years ago when he made some of these albums. Just a fantastic singer. So the other difference to me is that with Closer to the Edge, it's one of those headphones albums that you can listen to ad infinitum and never get bored of, where this one here is a little harsh on the ear, I find. Not terribly harsh, but much harsher, a lot sharper sounding. Maybe the production's a little bit better, I'm not sure, but there's a lot more sharpness to this album than to the Close to the Edge album, which I think it just smooths everything over. So to me, the biggest difference between the two is the feeling. This one's a much more smooth sounding, emotionally charged album. The other one's sharper, less emotionally charged album. To me, that's what the big difference is between the two. But there are a lot more similarities between them than there are differences. So, the reason I decided to do this today is because I wonder, why is this such a huge popular album with so many people in the progressive community, and this one struggles to get that same recognition? I don't really know why, but I know it has happened because I feel that way. I feel this one is a magnificent perfection, and this one is just a little bit too sharp, a little bit too harsh, a little bit too jazz fusiony, I guess. So there you have it. Yes's Relayer, Close to the Edge by Yes as well. What's the difference, right? Really. So what do you people think are the difference? Did I miss the ball here at all? Is there things that I missed that I'm not getting? Got to remember, I'm not a guitar player. I'm not a keyboardist. I'm basically, I'd like to say I was a drummer. Some people would just say I make a lot of racket. So that's basically where my music, but I do love these two albums. I just think that Close to the Edge is just a magnificent album. So there you have it. So please make your comments below, hit the like button, and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. And we will be back sometime in the future with another episode of What is the Difference. Take care.